You know, it's funny. A lot of Bears fans, just like me, were waiting weeks and weeks and months, and frankly, for me, a couple of years for the hammer to get dropped on fucking Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. And just kept counting down the days and kept counting down the time. And it was like a stench that hung over the organization, the team, the roster, the fan base. And in one way, it was a relief when Pace and Nagy were fired because it needed to happen. You have to set some type of accountability and standards in your damn organization. On the other hand, it also introduces the problem of, Matt Nagy is the second best head coach the Bears have had since Mike Ditka, Lovie Smith obviously being the best. Which speaks to just how bad the Bears head coaches have been for the most part over the past 3 decades. That's not something to celebrate. Ryan Pace. Well, he's doing better than Phil Emery. There's not a lot of great history there. And you also know that Goofy George, and our Bean Counting Ted, being involved in this head coach and general manager search, gives you some heartburn, some heart palpitations, because you feel like history could be repeating itself again. But now after all that time of waiting and waiting and waiting for the hammer to get dropped, the hammer finally got dropped, and now the Bears organization is going through the process of interviewing general manager candidates and interviewing head coaching candidates. And now you're getting to the point of you've got Bears fans that are saying, trust the process. And you've got Bears fans that are saying, what the hell's taking so long? Let's hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And I guess the bigger question is, should Chicago Bears fans be worried about the head coach and general manager search? And I think it's a mixed bag. You look, for example, at the sheer number of candidates we've heard them talk about having interviews with in terms of head coaches and general managers. They're casting a very wide net, which on the one hand you could say there's no reason to absolutely rush. 'Tis better to take your time to find the right guy, the right person, as opposed to rush and be first to market. Just because you're first doesn't mean it's always the best. I get that, and I completely agree with that. And on the surface, there's nothing wrong with taking your time and being very diligent and going through a number of candidates and not just saying, hey, we're only going to interview 2 or 3, because you're kind of using your own preconceived biases and notions to significantly limit your talent pool, which oftentimes can shut you off from a better, more compelling option. So I get it, going through the process and doing all of these interviews. That said, you can also get to a point where you are casting too wide of a net. If you have to start interviewing 12, 15 head coaching candidates, do you really know what the fuck you're looking for? Even if you found it, would you even know that you had found it? To me, I would envision a coaching search, a general manager search, and you're setting up beforehand that you want to have some type of traits or characteristics that you want to hone in on. Now, of course, it worries you when it's Goofy George and Bean Counting Ted, and they're the ones setting those standards, because you know those standards are probably stupid, but nonetheless, you have to have them. And when you start going out there and interviewing everybody from all types of different backgrounds and interviewing people with all different types of levels of experience, it can leave you with the impression that they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they don't know what they're looking for. And when you don't know what you're looking for, it can lead to really bad choices, really bad decisions, and Bears football of history repeating itself again. So no, it's not a bad thing that they've interviewed more than 3 candidates for the head coaching job specifically. But when you start talking about you're interviewing 10 or a dozen or more, yeah, I think you can start to question, how effective is this coaching search and this coaching process? Another thing you could question about this is they're doing all these preliminary first-round interviews with all these head coaches. That may be okay because you're wanting to get a familiarity for them and a feel for them, see if anybody absolutely has any red flags that you say, hell no matter what. But now you're starting to see guys getting scheduled for second interviews. Was it Eberflus or whatever from Indianapolis? Yeah, that's the guy you want coaching the team. You got to say Eberflus or Eberflus fucking next 3-4 years until he's fucking ever fired. Oh, God. All joking aside, though, you're starting to already do second interviews for head coaches, and you haven't even hired the goddamn general manager yet. That would be the concern for me in the process. The whole you got to wait and let the process play out. We've let the process play out several times. It's like the goddamn WWE and people in wrestling. They'll sit there and tell you, oh, you just got to wait for the story to play out. No, the fuck you don't. There is nothing that has been earned or merited to afford and award the benefit of the doubt here. The way this process should be working, I am okay with them doing initial interviews with the head coaching candidates. I don't fundamentally have a problem with that because you are in the process of hiring a general manager, you would think. Where I have the problem is that you shouldn't be doing second interviews when you don't even know for sure and haven't officially hired your general manager. That's stupid. You need to hire the damn general manager and let the general manager ultimately make the decision on the head coach because he's the one that's ultimately going to be accountable for it. And if this is a situation where you're bringing in somebody that's basically going to sign off on whatever damn head coaching candidate is supported by Ted and George and the committee, including goddamn almost 80-year-old Bill Polian, then we're back in the Ernie Accorsi shit with Ryan Pace. And if you're going to let that happen, then that JM fucking sucks, and that coaching hire is going to ultimately fucking suck, and we're back in the same spot in a couple of years. No, the GM needs to be hired before any second interviews are done, period. Period. Let's do a little less of the head coach interviewing, a little more of the general manager interviewing and fucking deciding here. Which is a part of another concern about me with this whole process is, this is what they made the mistake of not firing Pace and Nagy a couple of goddamn weeks ago. They could have already started the damn process, but of course they waited for absolutely no damn reason, and this is a spot that you're in. And then we get to the whole concept of there's this goddamn head coach hiring committee. Like the one dude that's on the committee is at least like a former player. So you say, okay, somebody has infinitely more football experience than George McCaskey or Ted Phillips. That's okay. But the other one, she's a lady in charge of like diversity in the organization. What the hell does she have to do with the head coaching hire? That's almost like HR shit. Well, if you want her to do HR shit, have her in charge of the background checks and make sure everything checks out. It's like you're putting token faces on your head coaching hiring panel to sit there and make it look like you're going to hire a minority candidate. And you very well might. But the fact that you have an unqualified team president, an unqualified team CEO, or whatever the hell you want to call him, owner, and George McCaskey, along with the team president, Ted Phillips, two inherently unqualified people. Now you're throwing in this random woman that sits there as part of some diversity fucking panel who is also inherently unqualified for the head coaching decision and the head coaching search. It just points to the goddamn problems of this organization. To where now you're consulting with damn 79-year-old Bill Polian. The same Bill Polian that, yes, built the Bills of the 80s and early 90s into a team that went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls. Lost them all, but they went there. That is true. Then he went to the expansion Carolina Panthers and leveraged a combination of draft and free agency to build that team into a contender by year 2 in that 96 season. They made it to the NFC Championship game, lost in Lambeau to the Packers. Remember that? I do. That's true. Also went to the Colts and got the generational quarterback in Peyton Manning. And this guy was so goddamn great as a general manager, he managed to win 1 fucking Super Bowl with damn Peyton Manning. And the 1 year that his team won the Super Bowl, it was arguably the shittiest that Peyton ever played in the goddamn playoffs. And he ultimately won the Super Bowl because of, you guessed it, Bears football. And that's the goddamn dude that you want in charge of this head coaching search and the general manager search? For all you know, he's going to bring his damn son in. For all you know, he's just going to sit there and say, hey, these are people that used to be with the Colts. Yeah, that's who the fuck you want to bring in. head coaching candidates and general manager candidates from a damn team that didn't even make the playoffs this year. Bears football! There is more than one way to skin a cat here. That is true. The way to not do that is basically consult with an old washed-up league executive or team executive in Bill Polian, just like you did with Ernie Accorsi 7 damn years ago, where first chance he got it was just an example of familiarity and nepotism. Oh, John Fox comes available, gotta fucking hire him and force him on Ryan Pace, and Ryan Pace is like, I'm so pretty, I'm just happy to be here, Virginia. Yuck, of course I'll take her. I'll have John Fox as my head coach. And look at where the fuck you ended up. Instead of a dumb dick like Accorsi and a puss ass like Ryan Pace asking the important question of, hey, the Broncos are a contender, why the fuck are they hiring John Fox? Maybe you don't want that asshole anywhere near this team. Now you're getting in the same spot, and it's like history repeating itself all over again. The Bears got lucky back in 2001 when they brought in the headhunter, consulting my ass, headhunting agency to ultimately find him Jerry Angelo. That actually kind of worked out, even though it didn't result in the championship. Like, Angelo was vastly better than Ryan Pace. But it's the same shit of always bringing in outside people because you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and then you always make the same damn hires. So many of the things that you're looking at in this process feel exactly like the things we've seen Groundhog Day time after time after time after time. So no, Bears fans shouldn't be absolutely panicked yet because decisions ultimately haven't even been made. And the reality is we're not going to fully know for a few years how these things are ultimately going to work out or not. That said, should you be a little concerned and worried about the way this process is going, and more specifically, who's in charge of this process, who's overseeing this process? You're goddamn right you should! Because if you weren't, then where the hell have you been this past couple of decades of Bears football?